Hello, my name is Rosalind Bubb and this video is an introduction to simple tapping. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what it is and about how you can do it so that you can start using it for yourself now. Now the actual name is Simple Energy Techniques and it was created by Steve Wells and Dr. David Lake in Australia. And if you would like more information about it, you could go to their website, which is www.eftdownunder.com. And you might also be interested to read their book, which is here, and there's more information about that on my website. But I tend to call it simple tapping because I think that's how most people think of it. So let's begin then. So why would you want to tap? Well, it's a very powerful and effective self-help tool. It's very easy to learn, it's very easy to use, and you can use it on yourself anytime you want to. I can give you some examples. If you are feeling distressed, then using simple tapping can allow you to feel calmer and to reduce the intensity of the emotions. If you're feeling tired, you'll find that simple tapping can allow you to feel more energetic and more focused. If you're feeling angry, you can use simple tapping to calm down and feel more peaceful. If you're feeling anxious or scared, you can use simple tapping to allow you to feel calmer and more confident and more in control. And if you have aches and pains, you may well find that simple tapping can enable you to feel more comfortable. So what is tapping? Well, tapping is based on acupuncture. For thousands of years in Chinese medicine, that they've believed that there is energy flowing around the body in pathways, channels, they actually call them meridians. And when this energy is flowing correctly, then we experience our natural state of health and well-being. But when the energy gets stuck or disturbed in some way, then we don't feel so good and we experience emotional discomfort, physical illness, disease, and so we want to clear that stuff out. And stimulating key points on these energy meridians allows you to balance the energy out again. And so with acupuncture, they stimulate the energy using needles in key points. But with tapping, we tap with our fingertips. And so this all sounds really weird and quite unlikely, and you don't need to believe any of it. It works whether you believe in it or not. So now we've reached the part which you'll find in all of my videos where I say that you must take full responsibility for your own well-being as we tap. And that's because with the tapping, it's a bit like peeling the layers off an onion and stuff can come up. And so if you've been suppressing emotions, or if you're under the care of the doctor, or you're seeing a therapist, or if maybe you suspect you should be, then you might like to consult someone before you continue with this. Or at the very least, make sure that you have someone with you to support you as you tap. And it's very rare that this happens, and if as we go along strong emotions do come up, the chances are that they can begin to ease as we continue to tap. Okay, so this simple tapping is a simplified version of EFT, which stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. And Steve Wells and David Lake, who invented the simple tapping, experimented with EFT and they simplified it and they added a few things, and what they were trying to do is to see what is the minimum you can do and still get the same results as using full EFT, Emotional Freedom Techniques. So what I'm going to show you is what they created. And I'm going to suggest that you copy me throughout this video, and I'm actually going to invite you to try it as we go along. So let's begin then. So let's have a look at the different tapping points. So the first one is, if you were going to do a karate chop, you would use that part of your hand. So we call that the karate chop point. So you can just begin by tapping that, and you can tap on either side. We're tapping on the fleshy bit below your little finger or your pinky, and that's the karate chop point. It doesn't matter how fast or how hard you tap. If you want to, you can tap it in other ways. The key thing is that you're tapping and stimulating these energy points here. So the next one, or the next points are around the body, and then the other ones are on the hands. So let's begin with the ones on the body. So the first one is at the beginning of your eyebrow. So you can do either, you can do both at once if you want to, or just one. You can do two together. So that's the eyebrow point there. The next one is on the bone on the side of your eye, so we're not going back into your hairline, it's right there on the bone on the edge of your eye there. And you can tap with one hand, you can tap with both, you can tap with both together like that. You can swap at any point. The next one is on the bone below your eye, about an inch below your pupil there. And again you can tap with one or the other or both. The next one is underneath your nose there. The next one is in the middle of your chin. And the next one is on the end of your collarbones. Now, your collarbones are these long bones here that end in a knobbly bit. So we're aiming to tap there. You can do one, you can do both at once. You can use two hands if you want to. If you want to, you can make a loose fist and tap like that. It's about where a man would knot his tie. Now the next one is underneath your arm in the middle of your bra strap there. Now if you're not wearing a bra, what we're actually looking for is a palm's width underneath your arm there, just below that point there, so in the middle of your bra strap there. And the last one on the body is on the top of your head, and if you move your hand around a little bit you get both sides of the brain at once. So those are the tapping points. And it's a good idea to take a deep breath. And you might like to drink some water. What you'll find is that tapping tends to make you thirsty, and the more you drink, the better it works and the better you are generally. Okay, so now we're going to do the hand point. So we've already done the karate chop point here. And now, if you have your hand like this, we're going to work our way down. So we're going to start with the outside edge of your thumbnail there. Okay, so tapping on the outside edge of your thumbnail. Then moving down the outside edge of your index fingernail, then the edge of your middle fingernail, then the edge of your ring fingernail, then the edge of your little fingernail or pinky. And then if you make a fist like that, can you see that you've got dips between your knuckles? If you come to the last dip and then move up a bit, there's a little hollow in the back of your hand, so we're tapping there. And then the last two are above and below your wrist, and you can do that over jewellery or a watch, that's completely fine. Okay, and then let's just take another deep breath. So those are the different tapping points. I'll run through them again quickly. Karate chop point, beginning of your eyebrow, side of your eye, underneath your eye, under your nose, middle of your chin, end of your collarbones, the middle of your bra strap under your arm, top of your head, and then side of your thumbnail, side of your index fingernail, middle fingernail, ring fingernail, little finger or pinky, go to the last dip, little hollow in the back of your hand, and then above and below your wrist. So those are all the main tapping points. There's also something which you can do called continual hand tapping, because tapping on this lot is quite conspicuous, but tapping in your hands is much more inconspicuous. So if instead of tapping like this, if you take one hand and you just let your thumb drop down like that, and you can do it with both hands if you want to, we're tapping on the point where your thumb lands, so that's the edge of your index fingernail, and then you can move down to your middle fingernail, to your ring fingernail, little fingernail or pinky, and then you can go back up the points if you want to. And you can do it with two hands if you want to. There's your index fingernail, middle, ring, little finger or pinky, and then going back up again like that. And you can see that's relatively discreet. So that's actually tapping. But if you want to, what you can also do is you can rub instead. So I'm rubbing the points now. Okay? And then you can go back up again. And if you want to do the edge of your thumb, you wrap your finger around. Can you see? So you can either tap it there or rub like that. And so that's tapping and rubbing. What you can also do if you want to is you can squeeze these points. So I'm just squeezing them there now. So all of these things are doing, that's all still stimulating the energy points on these points of your hands. So as you can see, all of these are very discreet. Probably the squeezing is the most discreet of all. And people really aren't going to notice that you do that. And you can do this for a long time. And actually, I would recommend doing this for a long time. Because the longer you do it, the better, the more impact it has. So that's continual hand tapping. Now, although this is called simple tapping, you don't actually have to tap if you don't want to. what you can do is you can rub or hold any of these points. So the point is that what we're doing is we're stimulating these energy meridian points, but it doesn't have to be tapping. So if you'd rather, instead of tapping the karate chop point, you might find that you like to rub it. Some people like that. And you can rub or hold any of these points. So instead of tapping here, you might find that it's nice just to hold these points and to take some deep breaths. That can be very soothing. You might find that it's nice to rub like this instead. Instead of tapping on the collarbone point, you might find that it's nice just to place one hand or maybe two. You can massage it, you can just leave your hands there and take some deep breaths. That can be very soothing, particularly if you're feeling wound up. Some people find that instead of tapping on top of their head, they can feel something if they just put their hands there. Personally speaking, I like to tap, but some people find that this is very powerful. So whatever works for you. So what I'm encouraging you to do is actually to experiment and have a little play and see what your body likes, see what you like the feel of. And it's quite common to come up with some points that you particularly like. We call them your points. Common ones are the karate chop point, that's often very popular. The collarbone is another very popular one. Top of the head can be very popular. But have a little experiment and see what you like. And don't feel that you have to tap. I have one friend who's discovered that she likes to rub that point. She likes to stroke that, she likes to do this, she likes to do that, and all of these work just as powerfully for her as the tapping. So I'd encourage you to have a little play and find out what feels really nice to your body. Now, the people who invented this, Steve Wells and David Lake, have come to the conclusion that actually you probably only need to do 3 or 4 of these points in any one go. So you don't have to do all of them, you can just experiment and see what you like. And if you just want to do one, then that's better than nothing at all. But what seems to be optimal is 3 or 4 different points at any one go. And you might find that you get into some routines which feel good for you. So, for example, this is my favourite. I like to do that for a long time, and then it just seems to feel right to do a little bit of that afterwards. Another one which I like is to tap on the karate chop point, and then on the back of my hand, and then the top of the wrists, and then backwards and forwards like this. And I quite like to do that when I'm watching television, or if somebody is driving me in the car. I find that very relaxing. And you can have conversations while you're doing it. You don't need to focus on anything while you're doing this. So I'm going to continue to tap as I talk to you now, because it'll just give you an idea of how you can use simple tapping. So you can focus on something, and you don't have to. So you have a complete choice, and it works just as well if you want to. So if you want to focus on something that's bothering you, if you're feeling cross or upset or anxious, or if you've got an ache or a pain, or there's something coming up that you're worried about, or something happened that is haunting you that you'd like to get rid of, you're very welcome to focus on that as you tap. And your subconscious will be tuning into that and helping to clear those emotions as we clear the blocks in the energy system. But similarly, you really don't have to think about something consciously. So as I said, you could be doing this while you're just having a conversation with somebody, while you're watching television, while you're on the telephone. You might be talking to somebody on the telephone and tapping at the same time. It's perfectly fine if you don't consciously think of anything at all while you're tapping. Your subconscious knows what it is that it would be useful to be dealing with, and it will be doing that as you tap. So, as I say, feel free to focus on something or not, as you like. And similarly, if you've used words before in using emotional freedom techniques, if you want to tap while you talk, you're very welcome to, but you really don't have to. And I find that one of the advantages of simple tapping is that it's so straightforward, it's so easy, you can't possibly get it wrong. It doesn't matter which point you tap on, you don't have to think about words, you don't have to know what's going on, just tap. So that brings me to, how long should I tap for? Well, most people tap because they find it's a nice thing to do. It's pleasant, it's relaxing, it feels good. And you might find that 5 minutes makes quite a big difference, 5 or 10 minutes. The people who invented it suggest that you accumulate 10 minutes throughout the day. It doesn't have to be all at once, but there seems to be a definite correlation between the amount that you tap and how much better you feel. So the more you tap, the bigger impact it has. And as I said, you can accumulate it throughout the day in lots of different ways. If you're waiting for the computer to do something, if you're waiting for your kettle to boil, it can be a very good habit to get into the habit of hand tapping. You can do that with one hand or both when you're walking, if you're on public transport, if you're talking to somebody, if you find yourself in a stressful situation. You could be doing that for quite a long time with one hand or both. And that's what I recommend, is actually aiming to get this into a muscle memory so that it becomes a physical habit with one hand or both. And so that's how you simple tap, and the more you tap the better. I suggest you try it, have a little play, that you can't possibly get this wrong, and the more you use it, probably the better you will feel. So if you'd like more information about how I can help or support you, if you'd like to see more videos, then please go to my website. And thank you very much for watching this, and I hope you get on well with tapping.